I see ice. An icy blue place. It's sort of fuzzy. It's not coming in very clearly, but it looks like blue ice, icy blue.
So you can stay there, and the more you observe your surroundings, the more clear they become as you observe.
Like an ice cap.
Yeah.
Iceberg, ice cap, ice shield.
And what else are you aware of?
I'm taking myself through beyond this ice shield, beyond the ice cap.
Right now, do you perceive yourself as having a body?
No, I'm a sphere of light.
Okay. And what happens next?
As you go deeper through the ice and into the ice and then beyond the ice caps, you come out into light, and it's full of spaceships, full of starships. It's a spaceport.
Okay. And the ice that you just went through, are you aware where that is?
I think it might be Antarctica.
Okay, so tell me more about what you're aware of right now.
I'm aware of having breached security.
And remember that you're safe. Are you feeling safe?
Right.
Whose security did you breach?
I know that I can't be trapped. It is. I keep hearing the word enemy spaceport. Annunaki spaceport.
Okay.
And they're in a state of chaos. I think they're too busy to worry about me breaching them, because I'm getting that they're getting ready to evacuate the planet.
Why is that? Are you aware?
The energy's changing. The human population is waking up. The energy is shifting. They don't want to leave, obviously, but they feel they have to. The humans that they've co-opted or they've appeared to take over are very worried because they're going to be left behind. They were promised some kind of diplomatic immunity, but they're not going to get it. They've been tricked. And they're going to be left behind and discovered.
And how are you aware of all this information?
I can see certain political figures that are there who are very, very worried and contemplating suicide.
What else are you aware of?
This is part of an evacuation. They've lost this planet. And so my higher self is telling me, we showed you the beginning, now we're showing you the end. I was there at the beginning, I'm here at the end.
Tell me about this Anunnaki. How do they look like? Do they all look the same?
There's lots of different species, many different species.
Okay.
I see reptiles. I see the little gray characters with the bug heads. Tall gray characters with the bug heads, the mantoid types. And they're getting ready to evacuate. they feel that they've lost this planet because they can't control the population anymore. The population has risen up against them in sufficient numbers that they simply can't control it anymore. They're not controlling the mindsets anymore. The human population has reached a tipping point, and enough of the human population are now waking up to the fact that they have their own free will. They can control their own destiny. Many are rediscovering the message of Yeshua that came through 2,000 years ago and has been filtering into the human population. And this message teaches that you are divine. You are in control of your own destiny. And this is something that the Annunaki is the overall term, but there are many, many, many species involved, and they're having to retreat. Many would like to blow this planet up because they're like spoiled Earth children. If they can't have it, they don't want anyone to have it.
So can they just blow it up? Can they just blow it up?
There's something blocking them. There's a force that's blocking them. I think their weapons are jammed.
What is blocking them?
There's a higher council. There's a higher force that is blocking them, that's driving them out, that is forcing them to retreat.
Tell me about this higher force.
It's a divine collective that's trying to restore the balance in the universe. And they have pushed way beyond where they were allowed to operate and to offer the service to self. And so they're now being forced to go back to the original agreement of the division into service to self and service to others, free will and control, love and fear. There's a balance in the universe, and they've tried to upset the balance, and so they're being sent back. They're being forced to retreat, and they're not being allowed to destroy the planet.
But you said there are many different species, however you call them the Anunnaki. Can you tell me why you call them the same name if they're different species?
They're controlled by one group. They're controlled by the domain. Annunaki is an earth name for them, coming down from the sky. But they are the domain. They're known in earth history as the Anunnaki. But in their own history, they are the domain. And their universe is the dominion, the universe of control. They can't bear the thought of free will anywhere. They can't bear the thought of people not being controlled. And so they're retreating back into an area where they're in control of absolutely everything. But once they're back in that area, they're no longer getting the sort of sensory excitement that they get from colonizing a place where people have free will. They were terrifying humans and taking that energy and thriving off that energy. They were drinking human blood. They were using humans the way humans use animals. They were cultivating humans basically as herds. And they're not being allowed to do this anymore. They're having to withdraw, retreat.
And these beings that you saw, that they belong to multiple species, these are not entire species that belong to the Dominion, just certain beings from the respective species. Is that correct?
There are many, many species that belong within the Dominion. Many species, including humanoid species.
Okay. But it's just subgroups that belong to the Dominion. It's not all.
It's a rebel group that belong to the Dominion.
So,
a breakaway group.
Okay. So are you still witnessing the scene with everyone leaving?
Yes, they changed dimensional frequencies so that we can't see their craft. Their craft, in order to leave this area, they're being allowed safe passage out. And in order to leave this area, they have to go to a much higher vibration. They set their course by setting a vibration back into their territories, and then their ship, once it achieves that vibration, will rematerialize in that territory or near that territory. But it has to leave the area around the Earth. It has to get far enough away from any habitable planets so that when it accesses that vibration, it creates a kind of a black hole when it does that, and that black hole creates a very, very, very severe disturbance. So they can't do that while they're near inhabited areas. They have to change their vibration to a high enough vibration that they can't really be viewed by the Earth devices. And then they go out far enough away from our solar system where they then put in the coordinates, if they think the coordinates basically of the vibration where they're meant to be, and then they collapse into this very, very violent black hole and then re-emerge again in a very violent format. Their ship re-emerges elsewhere in safe space, and then they will go on to the coordinates that they wish to go to.
And who gave them the permission to leave?
They're given permission again by the Divine Collective. There's this collective above, there's the light collective that keeps track of what's going on in the universe. And it allows for both the free will and the control matrix.
And are these beings already leaving, or are they just getting ready to leave?
They have been leaving for a while now.
For how long would you say?
They've been leaving for several years now.
Can they not all leave at once?
No, there are very, very many of them, and there are many who are still reluctant to leave, and they're still trying to cause trouble. They're still trying to start wars on the Earth, and they're trying to have their wars accepted by the human population, but the human population is not accepting them anymore. If a vast majority of the human population accepts these wars, then it's very difficult for them to be forced out, because the humans are acting of their own free will by accepting these violent wars and by accepting division and accepting that wars have to be fought. But more and more human beings are realizing that the wars have not solved anything over the millennia, on millions of years on this planet. And so more and more human beings are rejecting the idea of war, and they're visualizing peaceful scenarios of people getting along with each other and rebuilding the Earth and allowing the Earth to be a natural paradise again, where humans can actually thrive within a natural environment. As more and more human beings are able to conceptualize this and to conceptualize peace, then it becomes increasingly clear that the dominion conquering of the planet has been rejected. And so as that's rejected, then these entities, these craft and these beings are being exported. They're going out via Mars, some of them. They'll go out and pick up more at Mars, and then they're going out to safe space where they go outside of the plasma filaments that are connecting these various, they're almost like plasma highways. So they have to go outside between these plasma highways and create these implosions so that they can explode again elsewhere, again beyond the plasma highways, these highways that interconnect within the universe.
And while these beings were on Earth, how were they able to create the wars and other...
They thrive on war. They just love the wars, the ones who came here. And they love eating humans and drinking human blood, especially terrified humans, because this gives them an excitement. They thrive on war and on violence and on conquest and seeing people fearful. They love fear. This is what excites them. This is their excitement. And so they, by simply convincing politicians, the people who have the great investments in the monetary systems on the planet, that they become a part of this. They also begin to thrive on war. They love war and they love eating human excitement. And sometimes they're walk-ins from these higher beings, and sometimes it's human beings who then the fear is rekindled in them and they become effective tools for these people. Sometimes they're used, they're trapped in blackmail schemes that they can't get out of, and they become very miserable, and many of them become suicidal. They have to end their lives. They try to end their lives because they know that they're being used for a dark purpose. Many of these people are now evacuating. They're leaving the Earth. They're dying. You see very prominent people in the news who are reported as ill or dying or having cancers or diseases or being admitted to hospitals. These people are actually ending these incarnations here because they're finished with them. They're no longer being used.
So can you tell me more about the Antarctica location? Are there other locations on Earth where they are?
That's the principal location. Geneva is another headquarters, but Geneva isn't as powerful. Geneva is an energetic headquarters for them.
Can you tell me more about Geneva? What do you mean?
What we call Geneva in Switzerland, where they've set up, they're trying to create another portal in Geneva, outside of Geneva. What's a big physics experiment called CERN is a place where they have been trying to create a portal, but that's being blocked energetically. They're not being allowed to create the black hole, basically, that they were trying to create there. There are still entities there, but I think they're being cleared out as well. I can feel that they're being cleared out.
Okay.
And they're having to make their way to the Antarctica port.
Okay, so anything else about the Antarctica port? Any other impression that you have about what's going on there?
They have been using that as one of the accesses to the inner Earth as well. And they have been controlling and influencing the upper Earth population from there for a very, very long time.
From where? What do you mean?
from Antarctica. They've been controlling the Earth's population for thousands and thousands of years from there.
And how are they controlling specifically?
By patrolling the Earth in their ships. And their ships, quite often they're invisible because they're vibrating at too high a speed, but many people over Earth history have spotted these ships and are able to see them and sketch them and see the beings that come from them. And often beings, the ships that have come through in Earth history will rematerialize or step down into this vibration at a safe distance, and then they will come down into the Earth through the Antarctica portal, and they can use that as a base. They've used that as a base for thousands of years, and that's kind of I think there are mythologies about that in Earth history.
And how are they controlling the Earth from these ships and from Antarctica?
They control with mind control, largely, and by controlling the minds of leaders, controlling the minds of religious hierarchy, especially, and then the political and financial, in recent years, financial hierarchy are being controlled by these beings. Many of them without even being aware of the fact that they're being controlled by these beings. And so these beings promise them the wealth and power in exchange for doing their bidding.
But it's getting to an end now. That's what you're seeing.
It's coming to an end now.
It's coming to an end.
Yeah.
So as you're looking more at what's happening at Antarctica, is there anything else that comes to mind?
I'm seeing what happens next. And what happens next is that there is an exploration. There's an archaeological exploration of Antarctica that will show that beings from other dimensions, other systems, other star systems have been using that port for millions of years, millions of solar years. And there's a whole history that can be written around that. But in a sense, it's a history of an empire that has come to an end, and so it'll become a tangible history that people can explore in the future, should they wish to go and look at these great dark machines, these incredible machines, whatever's left behind, and perhaps use some of the technology that's there as well. Although what's happening in the new Earth is that there won't be any need for this technology. There might be for a generation sort of an awe at what these machines were able to do, but it'll just be one for the history books in a sense. Because humans are rediscovering their own internal power. They don't need machines to do anything. They can begin to communicate telepathically. They can begin to manifest on their own as they grow higher in their dimension, and they return to who they really are, basically as these incredibly powerful beings, beautifully genetically modified beings who can then, as they rise up in their vibration, they're going to realize that they're ready to head out and travel the galaxy, and many will want to go and experience various things. But many will just want to return to a pristine forest, drink from lakes, and enjoy a world without destroying it, actually being a part of it, and learning how to communicate with the insect life, how to be that insect life and that plant life and that animal life, the fauna and the flora on the planet. And so it will return, the Earth returns to a free will. And so people will have the free will to go and explore a lot of the underworld areas. And that's a beautiful version of things. That's a really, really wonderful, wonderful version of the future that can be very, very real.
And do you have access to a timeline on when the Anunnaki will have left entirely and when these Antarctica locations will be discovered?
They have been discovered. They're well known to many people. They're well known to military and intelligence units, very well known. Many of these buildings have already been explored. There are lots of scripts that are yet to be deciphered. There's a whole new scientific inquiry into these places.
Do you have access to a timeline that shows when all those beings that you saw in Antarctica will leave Earth? Do you have a timeline?
They've been leaving for several years now.
Can you see when all of them will have left?
When all of them have left, I can see that there's a refreezing. There's a refreezing, and then there's a thaw. So it's quite far in the future. Because there's a big Earth shift happening. And that Earth shift is going to change the surface of the planet. And the outsiders, the Anunnaki, are leaving. But the bases that they're leaving behind and these incredibly ancient temples that they're leaving behind are there. And they will remain, and there's a whole new archaeology of the Earth there. But there will be another big shift before that, before humans will go and begin exploring that area. Those who become fascinated with history and aren't just simply happy to repopulate a really beautiful, natural, pristine planet. That's what I'm seeing now.
That's beautiful. Anything else about this before we move on?
It's just kind of an exciting time. It's a really, really exciting time to be here with these great massive shifts in history and shifts in time. And it's I'm really kind of excited to see what the Earth looks like without a control administration intact, without entities being told what to do, without animals being fenced and barned and slaughtered, without humans being fenced and barned and slaughtered. And seeing this world for what it truly is, a very beautiful, pristine area that volunteered to allow herself, if you like, to be used this way to create this incredibly complex body of experience for billions of souls to come and express themselves in all these different levels of experience, including this Renaissance that's coming up. And many people who are expressing themselves, many souls on the Earth at this moment that this recording is taking place, these souls are here experiencing an extraordinarily rapid evolution that they can't experience anywhere else in the universe. This is a unique experience, this planet, and this is why so many souls are attracted here. It's almost like going to a Luna Park to a playground in order to experience something where, as the souls are diving in, they have the confidence knowing that they can come out, but they're going to experience something unique. This is absolutely unique, especially in how fast this is happening here. It's just really, really a rapid change. And so it's an extraordinarily exciting time for people to be here, for people to be so immersed deeply into this kind of really tangible, emotional, sensory experience, and then to wake up from it into a bright, beautiful day. It's like entire lifetimes being lived in the sequence of dream time, where you get into incredibly complex detail. Really, really, it's a beautiful, unique, wonderful experience, and billions of souls come here to experience this. It's a really, really important place.
That sounds really wonderful. Thank you for that information.
It's really exciting. It's exciting to be here.
Thank you.